Good morning and welcome to Tuesday. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And how you doing? It's the morning of the first presidential debate, maybe the most important election that we have seen yet when it comes to the United States. And unfortunately, whether it's this election, the next election, we're heading the wrong way. Just cascading debts, socialism everywhere, law and order, seemingly a thing of the past. Financial crisis after financial crisis after financial crisis. And what are we left with? And this is what's going to be interesting tonight, how it goes. Again, I don't know that it matters a whole lot, but it does a little bit. I think that if Biden's going to stumble, this is the debate to do with it, because there's still going to be two more that he can make it up on. We'll see if he can go 90 minutes. It'll be interesting to see how many people watch it. I actually think I'm going to watch it, but I'm watching it for the same reason people watch NASCAR. Because I want to see the crash, right? That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm looking for in this debate. I just want to see it. And obviously Trump's going to be Trump. I just want to see the crash and see what happens. So the Dow is down several hundred points, which normally you would say, okay, that means gold's down. The other way. Gold continuing to rally here, up another 15. Over 1890 on gold. So looks like the sell-off may be over. We hit that 1842 level. I said there was resistance there. Gave you what potentially the dead rock bottom. Didn't know that we'd get there. Didn't think we'd get there, at least for the last several days now. Looks like we're not going to get there. The dollar continuing. All that dollar rally we saw last week. Fizzling away this week, because let's face it, the realities are it's just not that good of a picture when you start talking about the U.S. dollar. And think about all the things I talked about over the last couple of days, right? On Friday, we talked about China's digital currency. Yesterday, if you missed yesterday's show, give it a listen. Anybody out there trying to tell you we're not going to a digital dollar, a digital currency, you need to listen to the show yesterday. They all but said, yeah, that's where we're going. And pretty simply, very creatively, hey, you know what? It's just easier for us to give you money. That was one of the main – matter of fact, according to Metzer, who is the head of the Cleveland Federal Reserve and one of the top candidates to either be the next head of the central bank itself or the next Treasury Secretary of the United States, was on record as saying, hey, listen, we've sped it up. Which I absolutely believe they sped it up. Of course they sped it up. Because we don't have that much time left. But that's okay. You keep not buying gold. See how it works for you. Go ahead. I'm not going to force you. But the reason, a new reason, was brilliant, just brilliant. These people, they don't miss a trick. Which kind of leads you to believe maybe this all truly is all planned out. It's getting hard to argue that it isn't. Yes, so we can get money into people's accounts faster. Right? Who doesn't like to hear that? I mean, how much freedom will we give up when you're dead broke and you need money? I mean, think about it. We're going to have, 50, 60 million people on food stamps, right? Hey, put more money in my account. The stimulus money or Congress goes and appropriates, hey, we're going to send every American $1,000. They can have it there in a matter of a day. If you got a bank account, I guess. I don't know what happens if you don't have a bank account. That would be something. I don't know the answer to that. But in any event, that was the newest reason. And then for all of you out there that for years have been complaining about J.P. Morgan and the manipulation in the gold and silver markets. All of you have been vindicated today, because I was one of those guys where, I'll be honest with you, it didn't matter to me one way or the other, right? I'm like, it's just, it just is what it is, and you can call it manipulation, not manipulation. It was. J.P. Morgan has now settled. They're going to pay $920 million to resolve the government investigation into a manipulating of the precious metals market with spoofing trades. And this is where J.P. Morgan was betting against their own clients. One client in particular sued for $30 million. They cost the client $30 million in losses. They didn't care. And were making fake trades. In other words, they were putting a contract. And obviously, which way did J.P. Morgan want the market to go? Always down. They would spoof trades, saying, hey, we've got, and let everybody see it, we've got this trade for, who knows, 100,000 contracts short. They really weren't ever going to make that trade, but they wanted people to think they were going to make it to try to force the losses. Going to cost them, it's only going to cost them $920 million. They probably made $9 billion doing it. But for all of you out there, today's your day. You were right all along. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Yeah, J.P. Morgan finally caught with their hand in the cookie jar. It's a crazy case. So believe it or not, and of course we do, we understand. Listen, these banks have been able to operate like criminal organizations for decades. Listen, this is why do you think they push so hard to get this central bank? America really, you can attribute most of America's rise to a superpower without the central bank. We didn't have a central bank for like 100 years. We had no inflation, and except in time of war, we didn't even have to have a minimum wage because everything cost the same. We developed the automobile. I mean, the transportation. We had all of this stuff that we did without a central bank. But the bankers hated that. You get it? They wanted to make money. Spoofing wasn't even banned until 2008. Part of the Dodd-Frank deal. Of course, that didn't stop the banks from doing this. According to the government's own investigation, J.P. Morgan had denied these claims for years. And in 2016, succeeded in getting the case against them dismissed by a judge. Right? And I think that was kind of when I was like, listen, it is what it is, blah, blah, blah. But these plaintiffs, they knew. They knew what had happened. I don't know how they knew, but they knew. They appealed it. And the case was reopened in 2017. The case was pending in November of 2018. This is how long. Now, think about it. These charges were brought from 2010. So here are these three very wealthy individuals, obviously, battling with the bank now for 8 years. And the only reason why they ended up winning was a J.P. Morgan trader, John Edmonds, actually admitted in a federal court that he, along with other unnamed co-conspirators at the banks, manipulated the prices of gold, silver, and platinum and palladium futures contracts. Now, remember, it was banned in 2008. From 2009 to 2015, they said that J.P. Morgan... So even think about this. These guys bring the lawsuit. J.P. Morgan keeps doing it. Actually convinces a judge to throw the case out. And then what happened was it was another bank. I want to say it was Deutsche Bank that kind of turned in all the other banks, J.P. Morgan obviously being one of the main ones, forcing them to plead guilty. But what they said was, Edmund said, hey, I learned how to do it from my bosses. They're the ones that told me how to do it. He said the strategy was used hundreds of times with the knowledge and consent of his supervisors. And, of course, you got to remember now. See, now he goes to prison. The supervisors, right, don't ever put anything in writing, right? Right? Here you go. Hey, we told him to do it, but yeah, he can't prove it. They said that they sought permission from the judge to reopen the case. Long story short, while they were going after their money, the Justice Department went to the judge and asked the judge to wait, forcing these guys to wait even longer because they were now inducting a criminal investigation into J.P. Morgan's precious metals desk. So these guys waited. Finally now they've been vindicated. They've been awarded $30 million. J.P. Morgan has been forced to pay $920 million in fines for participating in racketeering conspiracy in connection with a multi-year scheme to manipulate the markets and defraud customers, as well as other crimes related to spoofing. You just think about this. This is the biggest bank in the country. And of course, is Jamie Dimon going to face anything? No. No. As a matter of fact, he's going to get a big fat bonus and all of these things. This is something, by the way, it wasn't only the precious metals markets. We know about the treasury markets. And this is the point I'm trying to make to you. The only people in danger when it comes to the new digital dollar is the depositors. You're the ones in danger, not the banks, right? The banks are designed to be protected and insulated, right? We see the central banks actually. Look at the central bank. What do? Hey, we're buying the debt market. Why? Why are you buying the debt market? Have you wondered why they're buying it? Why are they buying $120 billion worth of bonds every single month? Why am I telling you, by the way, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because they're going to have to be buying the commercial mortgage market and so pretty much all the markets. Don't be surprised if the central bank is buying $250 billion a month. Every month. Don't be surprised. But why are they doing it? Is it to protect you? No. It's to protect the banks. Right? It's to protect them and thinking about what it is that's going to happen to the banking industry. You know, what do they talk about? When the tide goes out, right, you find out who's got no clothes on. And this is the banks. They are nothing more than criminal organizations. You look at Wells Fargo. How is that bank still a bank? Think about all the illicit activities that they perpetrated on their own customers. It's amazing. But here's the thing. They've made it so hard. It's such a pain in the butt to switch banks. Everybody out there, I know you know it. But this is why I'm telling you, you got to have money in the bank. You do. But I would just keep an amount, no greater than 3 months worth of expenses and put the rest of it into metals. You're going to be better off. I mean, think about really what we're talking about right now. The CBO, who, let's face it, the CBO can't predict anything. Remember last year they told you the debt wasn't going to be $30 trillion until 2030? Right? It's going to be $30 trillion by the end of the year. They've now come out and said between now and 2050, so the next 30 years, think about this. Maybe you got kids. I got kids. Right? My oldest is 21 years old. So in 2050, right, he's going to be 50, turn 51 in 2050. My youngest, right, he'll be 47. He'll turn 48 at the end of 2050. And the CBO, now listen, they're so bad at predicting. Whatever the number they give you, double it. They're calling for a deficit of somewhere in the ballpark of $100 trillion. So really, what is it going to be? 200 trillion? We're never going to get that far. We are going to get a digital dollar. We're going to have a digital currency. It's going to work very simply. All these governments out there, they're going to have, whether it with, the Bank of International Settlements, right, special drawing rights from the IMF. They're going to have what I'll call it a Fed coin. Right, that's used to make purchases in between countries. Right, you're stuck with the digital dollar. We're stuck with the digital dollar. Oh, look how convenient it is, though, Double. I mean, just with a click of a keyboard, they can put some money in your account. The fact that they have to is what's disgusting about what's happening right now. I mean, I did the story last week. If you got $100,000 in your bank, in your savings account, you know how much you get for that $100,000? $50. If you got $1 million, you get $500. You used to be able to get 7% on $1 million. That was $70,000. How did you turn $70,000 into $500? Ask the central bank. That's what you really need to be paying attention to. I mean, think about it. 25 years ago, I know, way back when. Heck, let's go 30 years, since I just did a 30-year analogy. So 30 years ago, I was 20 years old. If you had $1 million, you'd get $70,000 in interest. $70,000. Now think about, hey, if you had your house paid off, right, and all you had to do was pay your property tax, right? You'd be okay, right? House paid off. I gotta pay the power bill and the trash and the water and hopefully your cars are paid off or something reasonable. And of course, cars were so much cheaper back then, right? You could live off hardly even touch your principal, if at all. Now think about it. In 30 years, now you got $1 million. Here's $500. Let's go crazy. If you put it somewhere a little more risky, maybe one of these online banks. Right? You know the ones I'm talking about. Hey, maybe you could get a whopping 1%. Right? Maybe you could find somebody out there that would be willing to give you, $10,000. The average institution, if you just have it in there, hey, you're getting $500, but you're going to get $10,000, maybe. Now, here's the problem with that. Inflation the way they calculate it, has been averaging about 1.8%? So every year, you're losing money. It cost you money to have your money in the bank. And it's only going to get worse. And guess what? Even then, the banks can't make it. They're dependent upon the central bank monetizing our debt. I mean, they commit crimes all over the place. Why? Because they need to. You know, and that's just kind of the name of the game. And it's something where the callousness of how they treat their own customers, it's ridiculous. No small business in America could ever get away with that. Ever. Could you imagine? You'd be out of business in a second. Maybe the greatest criminal organization of all time. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592 as we watch what's happening now. We don't have a full picture. Right? We know these moratoriums are coming to an end. You're starting to see it here even in Phoenix. Which I still think we're still growing. People, all these blue staters still moving here, but places are just closing. Restaurants that have been in business for decades are gone, and it's starting to multiply. And we're better than most. How about New York City? I mean, it's been horrific what's happening there. Mayor de Blasio aggressively pushing for a $12.4 billion federal bailout because New York City faces an unprecedented $7 billion budget deficit. Now, this is just the city. $7 billion. Remember, they just furloughed 9,000 workers the other day. But let me tell you something about these blue state governments. Here's part of the problem. After, by the way, the furlough. So he 9,000 workers. In addition to that way, the mayor announced a 1-week unpaid furlough. So 9,000, you got long-term furlough. But for himself and 494 employees in his office, that's going to save them $860,000. So those people will get 1 week off without pay. But when you look at the skyrocketing payroll of New York City, and again, just take out New York City, put your city in there, okay? In 2016, there were 76,166 employees with pay exceeding $100,000. By 2019, we went from 76,000 to 114,000 employees. That's a 50% increase, by the way, from in 5 years of the number of employees making more than $100,000. In 2019, plumbers helpers, not the actual plumber, but the helper to the plumber, earned $172,988. How about this one? The thermostat repairman. Yes, New York City has its own thermostat repairman. Matter of fact, I guarantee you they probably got a bunch of them. Now, would you rather be a plumber's helper or a thermostat repairman? I would, I'm like, well, probably the plumber helper. He probably makes, Nope, the thermostat repairman, he makes $198,630. I can't make it up. How about regular laborers? Just a regular laborer. right? So you're not a plumber or an electrician. You're just a laborer. 213,000. An electrician, 253,000. And that plumber, we make fun of plumbers, don't we? Right? You got plumbers crack, and we make all the jokes. By the way, a really good plumber, right? You have your own plumbing business. That's a good business. Believe me. We got plenty of plumbers that buy gold from Patriot. They may not make as much as the plumber for the city of New York. $286,000. School janitors. Now, I'll say this. Would you rather be a school janitor or the principal? Now, you could argue that the janitor has the crappier job, right? No pun intended. Got to clean up the crap and the vomit and all that. The janitors, $256,000. The principal only makes $154. Wow. Yeah. How's that? Do you think? No wonder why our education system's messed up. 4 deputy mayors, $241,000 apiece. 5,998 city employees out-earned the governor. So Governor Cuomo makes $178K. New York City's got 6,000 people that make more than him. The city has 331 full-time employees. By the way, 5 years ago, they had less than 300,000. Now, New York's losing population. You would think they'd need less employees, not more. 592,432 people pull the paycheck from the city. So they got a lot of part-timers on top of the full-timers. Almost 600,000 people working for. You don't think we got too much government? For a total cost of $29.5 billion. By the way, that's just pay. That does not include health care or pension benefits. Throw those in, that $30 billion becomes $40 billion. And again, you could go on and on and on, and this is the problem. And now the Democrats want to bail them out. This is why the president doesn't want to do it. Listen, we want to help the people out there. Should we help the city of New York? What are we going to do? Here's the problem. What if we don't help them? What happens? What if we don't help Illinois? What if we don't help Chicago? What if we don't help California? What if we don't help New Jersey? What if we don't help Connecticut? What if we don't help Michigan? What is going to happen? All those bonds go bust. Right? All the bonds go bust. Right? The city can't pay their workers. They can't. Right, what do you do? Well, I can either pay the workers or I can pay all the bonds. But I can't do both. And this is the problem. And now, all of a sudden, there's been a huge shock to the revenue. See, these cities thought, hey, we've got time. Right? We've been kicking the can down the road a little more and a little more and a little more. But don't worry, we still got more time. The revenue came to a halt. Now, all of a sudden, time's up. Gold's just getting started. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold and silver at the highs of the day now. Gold, $1,896. The December contract now, $1,900. Back over $1,900. Silver, here it comes again. Listen, it's not going to be long. Silver's up 55 more cents, 24 and a quarter and rising. And it's not going to be a straight line. It's not going right to 20,000, but it's going there. The dollar's going to have its moments of strength. They won't last long. But that last week, the coronavirus, all the Feds speak, right? The second the Fed's not talking, what happens? Dollar starts falling. It's not worth what it's printed on. And this is what you're preparing for. Are you preparing for the gold price of tomorrow? No. Are we preparing for the gold price next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Yeah. I mean, we're looking at, I don't know, in the next 10 years, let's be optimistic. Another 20 trillion. I mean, that means everything went right. 20 trillion. Okay, on top of 30. That would be 50. More than likely, the likely scenario is something closer to 30 to 40 more trillion. That's likely. That's not being a pessimist, and that's not being an optimist. Everything goes wrong. I don't even know what to say. 60? On top of the 30? Right? I mean, this is what you're preparing for. We cut you a break today, because I'm a nice guy. U.S. $10 liberties. I've only got 50. I wish I had more, but it's all I got. U.S. $10 liberties. We're going to do them at $1,050. I mean, so this is $25 off, and gold's gone up another $5 since I've been on the air. So $1,050 on U.S. $10 liberties at 800-951-0592. If Eric's right and gold goes to 20,000, no biggie, right? These coins will be worth 10 grand a piece. You decide. 800-951-0592. Bad news on trade this morning. The trade deficit for August, $83 billion. A horrible rebound in exports. In other words, the exports not growing. Where's all the Chinese buying that they promised us? I'll update you there. They said imports rose in August to 201.3, so $201 billion. We had an $83 billion trade deficit. Right, so we shipped like less than 120 billion, imported over 2 billion. By the way, exports were 118 billion. Imports 201 billion dollars. That's going to have a negative effect on the GDP. Third quarter GDP is still going to be a bounce back. On the China news, how they doing? The other day I told you, hey, China's bought some soybeans. But according to the latest data on the U.S.-China trade agreement, a summary of China's monthly purchases of U.S. goods covered by the deal says that China's year-to-date total imports were $56 billion versus where they're supposed to be right now. All right, here we are at the end of September. They're supposed to be at 115 billion. They're at 56. So not quite, just above half. Which means that the prorated year-to-date target says that China's 48% below the level needed to fulfill the deal. And again, the pressure needs to remain. The trade deficit with the Chinese has not gotten better. They're not. They're not agreeing to anything. They're going to do what they do, which means we need to do what we need to do. But when you think about it, if China's not making these purchases, right, that's just more hardship. I mean, we've already, listen, I can tell you right now, I know so many farmers, so many. There's not one of them that wants money from the government. They just want a fair shake. You give an American farmer a fair playing field, and they will win. They will win. There's no doubt about it. And that's what Trump's trying to do. We not only have we not gotten there, right, but we haven't. What's the next step? Right? Start thinking about, TikTok and WeChat and Huawei. Dude, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Friday, I did that show letting you know China's got the plan. They've already got a digital currency. They're already testing it live in cities. They know we've got 40 million people living abroad. I mean, think about that. 40 million people. They almost got as many people living abroad as we got on food stamps, right? I mean, it's incredible to think about it. They're going to globalize their currency through a digital one. And they said, they said just the number of Chinese living abroad alone is enough. Then you start thinking about all the trade deals that they've been able to accomplish, getting away from the U.S. dollar, and it's a huge, huge problem. Huge problem. Because we need to sell. Who's buying all the debt I just told you about? Is it $2 trillion a year, $3 trillion a year, $4 trillion a year, $5 trillion a year? Who's going to buy it? Especially with negative returns. Not the Chinese. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Two lines open. Listen, don't let it pass you by. I've been, trying to get you to understand here, this is where you need to add to your portfolio. A little cost averaging. Listen, gold's what, 60, $70 away from being where it was before the this pullback, if you will, a gift, which is a good thing, right? Get the weak hands out and come back and look at the picture. What's changed? What changed from gold at 1950, 1960 to when it hit 1842? What changed? And the answer is nothing. Did more people start all of a sudden paying their bills? Nope. Did less people start filing for unemployment claims? Did the cities and the states magically find money? No. Has the economic condition of the commercial real estate market gotten better? None of that changed. And now we're starting to see that play out again. We got the debate tonight. We'll see how it goes. I think the Democrats got their fingers crossed. It's going to be interesting. I still think it's Trump. I still think so. The vast majority of us, because the mainstream media they don't get it, right? Yeah, if you wanted to scrutinize Biden the way you scrutinize Trump, it'd be the same. Right? We're flawed people. Let's just say it. We're all flawed. We do the best we can, but I just think the violence and all of this other stuff, law and order, is going to prevail. But we'll see how that goes today. The markets right now, Wall Street is down. It's off of its lows now. It's down 160. Gold's at the highs. Like I said, gold's up $17 and change at 1,900 on December gold. Current here, 1897. U.S. $10 liberties. There's. I just got a note. Thank you, Arlene. There's 36 $10 liberties left. There are 1,050 at 800-951-0592. By the way, I don't know what happened to crude oil. Something must be up in crude oil because it's down 5% today. 38.68 on crude oil, and my guess is there probably some data about economic activity. That's my bet. My bet is economic activity or no stimulus. That could be another one. I heard that Pelosi and Mnuchin were supposed to talk. I wonder if those talks failed. I don't know, but sooner or later, I think after the election, we're going to get another stimulus bill. It's going to be in the trillions. whether it's 1.5, 2, 3 trillion. That depends. If Biden wins, who knows? We could see a stimulus bill with a Biden victory of 4 trillion. We really could, which would be incredible for gold. 800-951-0592. Metals plans. We are going to start shipping tomorrow. So metals plans, we're going to try to get on it early. Our goal is to have everyone done by the end of next Friday. That'll be the goal for the metals plan, but we will start shipping tomorrow. Everybody, take care. God bless. Put the 10s away, right? 2 10s for less than a 20. Do it. 1,050 apiece. 800-951-0592. God bless everybody. We'll be back tomorrow.